If you're someone who believes in a higher power and you're tired of feeling like you have to carry your entire business on your own shoulders, this episode is going to feel like a deep exhale. Today, I'm sitting down with Stefanie Gass, a multi seven figure CEO, former top 1% network marketer, and host of a wildly successful top 20 globally ranked business podcast, God Led Business, with nearly 1,000 episodes. Stefanie has spent 15 years in entrepreneurship, living through the burnout that comes from building the world's way, and then completely rebuilt her life and business with God leading the process. Her story is powerful, raw, and incredibly grounding for those of us who know that there's someone else leading the way our life is meant to go. In our conversation, Stefanie shares how she hustled her way to major success only to end up at a breaking point, or what she calls a bathroom floor moment, emotionally, financially, and spiritually, and how that moment became the catalyst for creating a peaceful, profitable, and deeply aligned business that honors her marriage, her motherhood, and her personal well-being. We talk about what it actually looks like to surrender your business to God, even when old patterns of striving are still creeping in, how Stefanie structures her weeks now as a multi seven figure CEO working very limited hours, and why she believes podcasting remains one of the most sustainable, effective ways to grow a business without relying at all on social media. So, if you've been feeling that nudge, that spiritually deep restlessness that tells you something about the way you're building isn't aligned anymore, hello, I have as well. This episode will give you both the language for what you're experiencing and practical guidance for what to do next. So, let's dive in. All right, I'm so excited to have with us Stefanie Gass on the Nurse CEO podcast. Welcome, Stefanie.
Thank you for having me, Laura. So excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. And we were literally just recording an episode for hers and talking about being in business for a really long time. And so I'm always so excited to have people on the show that have been here for a long time, because I feel like everybody got online in 2020, or maybe like between 2020 and 2022. And there's not a lot of us that were doing it before 2020 and are still doing it. So I
Yeah.
think there's so much you can learn from people who got in before it was cool and have stuck around. And
hmm
so I just really admire that about you, and just being able to really come to a conversation with learned lived experience and not
Sure.
just like talking about what's hot, which I think even with your expertise around podcasting is one of those topics that I'm sure people have said to you before, oh, podcasting is dead or
Yeah.
XYZ is dead. And so I always think it's really nice to have a different perspective from somebody who's doing it very successfully and can show you how to do it well. So, Stefanie, you have built a thriving multi seven figure business without burning yourself out in the process, which is goals for everybody listening. So, how did you move away from the grind mentality that's really common with entrepreneurship and into
hmm
building a business that actually supports your health and your values?
Yes. So great question. I've been an entrepreneur now for 15 years, and the first 7 of those were the opposite of everything you just said, right? It was burnout, it was hustle, it was striving. I was completely building the world's way, and my faith is a really big piece of who I am now. And I can see where that was lacking as I built my first business. To make a long story short, I ended up making it to the top of a network marketing company, which is my first experience with entrepreneurship. Got laid off from corporate, decided I was going to become just a millionaire in network marketing because that was before it was hot. I was in
Yeah.
there and I did. I made it. I hit the top 1% of that company, but it was at the expense of everything, like mental sanity, just constant burnout, putting my marriage second to that. And it's because for me, which I didn't know this at the time, but my identity and my value was just extremely rooted in success and money and recognition. And that's how, we're all just like 8-year-old kids screaming to be seen and loved, and that's what in my heart that meant at the time. And so, funny enough, when you build with the world's way and not God's way, it's quicksand. So, by that 7th year, everything had fallen apart. And I found myself at this crossroads and turned to God for a true, Lord, I'm fully surrendered to you. I was saved at 9, but I wasn't in relationship with Jesus. And that was my come to Jesus moment. Some people call it like your bathroom floor moment, or, you're in your closet just crying out because like have no business left, had to borrow money from my kids' savings account to pay the mortgage, 60 pounds overweight, struggling with alcohol. All of these things are going wrong in my life. And yet I had worked endlessly and tirelessly and I had made it. So, how did this make sense? So, that was where I really was like, for me, God's got to be part of this. And I fully partnered with God to create something that I didn't know what it was going to be, but I said, God, I know I'm called to business, but I don't know what it is. And my life is a mess. And so I just kind of started walking out life with God and kind of growing something new with him. And every time I would pray before I would actually begin. And I think it's just important that we really check ourselves. Why are we building what we're building and who are we building it for? So, over the course of the next 8 years, the second evolution of my 15-year journey, it's been 100% from a faith led perspective. I'm putting God first and then my marriage and my children. Like business is last in there, but lo and behold, my business has grown into something that's bigger and more fruitful than anything I ever had on a vision board. I don't understand how it's come to fruition to get here when I'm working less than I ever had. I'm so much more peaceful. My team is absolutely incredible, loyal, longevity, and we reach thousands of people across the world that I can help. And it's because I shifted from just doing more on my own to trusting God more so that I can do less. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of been the inner work that was happening over the past 8 years to get me to this place of like, I'm not building a business for money. I'm not building a business for me. I'm literally building the business that God created for the people it's meant to serve.
Mhm.
And when you have that perspective, you really serve from a place of selflessness, right? It's like, I'm just here to give it away. Like, what do people need from me? How can I pour out? But when you do that and you shift the mentality, because I used to be very money minded, and not to say I totally great, excited to make money. I'm still here for money because I think that great people can do incredible things with money when we have the right heart around it. But that's not why I'm doing it. That's a fruit, that's a byproduct of co creating something with God that's actually helping people. And the other fruit of that is there's no more grind, there's no more hustle. That mentality has fallen away because I've seen what it means to operate from a place of peace instead of from a place of chaotic hustle all the time.
Mhm. I would love to hear as much as you're willing to share
Yeah.
about the transition period because I feel
Okay.
like it's so easy to think, okay, I'm going to do things different. I'm going to listen to God. I'm going to change what I'm doing. And I think a lot of times people expect it to just be this like the
Mm,
clouds part and everything's like immediately better. And I would
yes.
love to know, like, did you have a season of time where you questioned, like, did I make a horrible mistake? Or were you just like,
Yes.
no, we're good. Like, we're going for it.
Absolutely. Such a good question. So from that like bathroom floor day when I journaled out to God and like it was so fun because the Holy Spirit was like prophetically creating this vision of who I would be. It was like, you're a kingdom wife, you're sober, like you're a business leader. And I'm like writing these things on this paper, like, I don't know that language. I don't use words like that. I don't understand what that means. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to drink? I like to drink. And so it was like all these things were happening, Laura. That was this vision of who I was going to become, but I didn't know how to become her and I didn't know how to get there. And so what I started doing is just started with what I had in my hands. And at that moment, I had $150 and that was it to start going to a gym we couldn't afford. So I'm like, let's just start there. Let me just get healthy. And I just took one right step towards this vision of who I was trying to be. And when I was at that gym, I'd spend an hour on my business because I had littles. So that was my 2 hours of childcare. I did an hour on my business and an hour in my Bible. And I was like, okay, that's all I got. Like, I have nothing else to give. And all the while, I'm fighting with my soul, and my spirit's fighting with my soul, going, but you still have to make money. You still have to make money. Like, you're not making any money because the old wiring is still there. Your success and value is tied to what you produce. So I'm fighting with the old wiring while I barely discover the new truth. And those
Mhm.
things are really, really hard to remedy. And so I totally was a mess. I started blogging about how to style your mantle. You last person to style your house should be me. Okay. I started making Amazon merch t-shirts, not a graphic designer. And I call a friend, Laura, and I'm like, hey, I sold 5 Balloon Fiesta t-shirts because we had the Balloon Fiesta here. And she goes, "Hey, can you sit down for a second?" And she's known me for many, many years. And I sit down and she's like, "Why are you wasting your time doing something that's made you $4 a t-shirt? And why don't you get back to the thing that you were created to do?" And I was so mad. What do you know? Anyway, hang up that call, super annoyed and triggered, but went back to this truth piece. I started praying. I'm like, "Lord, what am I doing?" And so what happened is I would fail and falter back into my old wiring, but because I was really seeking, like, I really don't want to do this myself. Like, I know God has a life of more for me. I'm ready to be out of my own way. I would turn back to God and say, like, "Hey, help me out." Journaling, praying, getting in the word, right? Finding a church and community, praying that God would help lead me to the right people or the right book. And what was happening is, like, it became this evolution of trusting him that he was gonna make the business stuff work out while fighting the old me. Because that what happens is over time, as you decide, "I'm not gonna do this my way anymore, and I am gonna listen to the Lord, I am gonna trust him because I truly do believe that there's a God-led business for me." Your old way of wiring and operating will slowly give way to who you are becoming with God, but that took years and years. It's still right, it's still happening.
Mhm.
But I can clearly say today that, like, the old me and the lies of that I have to do everything and I have to show up and I'm only loved if I produce. The whispers are so faint. I barely hear them anymore. And so it's constantly taking captive those thoughts and knowing that it's okay when you fail forward and find yourself doing 40 offers again or whatever you accidentally found yourself doing. Because at the end of the day, if you can take a step out of everything, what you'll recognize is a lot of us are just coping. We're just trying to find the safe places that make us feel comfortable or that made us feel loved or made us feel worthy instead of looking at God for those things. And that's the distraction. That's the deception. It's, well, these make me feel better. It makes me feel better when I'm working and not with my family. Or it makes me feel better when I'm producing and making more money, even though I have to work 60 to 70 hours a week. I'm unwilling to pare all those things down because then we really have to feel what it actually means to feel and what it actually means to surrender. And that's really, really hard for us.
Mhm. Well, I love that you shared that because again, I just think people assume that when they start doing something differently that it's
It's going to
just
work.
now it's all just different, right? And I don't think they realize that it really is that ongoing battle that you're really, fighting the urge
Mhm.
to return to the old ways and that those old ways they're not just like eliminated just because you decided you weren't going to do it anymore.
No, they're
And
ingrained in you, sadly, and you've got to
yeah,
undo it. You got to undo
yeah.
it all, and that takes really hard, holy work,
Mhm.
healing work in lots of different areas, but it's worth
Yeah.
it.
Well, and I think as a, similarly lengthed business owner, you get so used to things being so much I say easier to control, but like it's like you're doing work, you feel productive, all of that. And then for me, when I had kids, a lot of times the challenge is when the parenting is hard. Like, yes, they're adorable. I love them. They're beautiful. But there's also the times where I'm like, my toddler is kicking me because she's mad. And I am like, I don't want to do this. Right. Like, I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't want to be
100%.
sitting here getting abused physically by a
Yeah.
3.5-year-old. And so there's that level of like, oh, I wish I could just work all day, and
Yeah.
I wish I could just go back to the thing that makes me feel, like, in control and,
Yep.
like, I get to do the things I wanna do, and so for me, I feel like having children, especially going from 1 to 2, has just been this, like, it's been a
God.
slower, more drawn out bathroom floor moment where it's
Yep.
like, "Okay, I need to do things
Yeah.
differently because
Yeah.
I don't wanna be mad when my kids are acting like kids because it's pulling me away from the thing I think I'm supposed to be doing," right?
Right.
So
The thing that makes me comfortable. Exactly.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So oh, go ahead.
I call those discernment alarms, Laura. So you've already recognized that there's something. So whenever God's trying to get our attention, it creates a holy restlessness in you. So that's where you look at, like, God, what are you trying to show me and tell me here in this season? And if we can just pause long enough to make some space to start working on that, there's a breakthrough for you there. And I think anyone listening, like, maybe it's not your kids, maybe it's your phone. Maybe it is that you never want to work and you only want to find your joy in your spouse or whatever that thing might be that you're running from, or the addiction. Maybe you always want to drink, right? I've been in all of the places that I just mentioned, but every single one of them had a discernment alarm. It started going off in my spirit. It was like, something's off, something's off, something's off. It happened with social media one day for me. And I started the prayer around it. What do I do? Started deleting them every weekend. The apps led to a 1 month fast off social, led me to 2 years off social media, changed my life. And similarly, with alcohol, and similarly with changing the way that I show up for my kids, all of that. So it's like, don't push through those feelings that come up, but create space to explore them with God. And it's journal and praying over that is really the best thing you can do, because there's something in there that God's just trying to rewire. And when we fix that thing and we actually do the surrender work and we start to change some behaviors and some things, the outcome and the fruit of it, it's a million times better than what you could ever anticipate, because it's God's dream for you, right? It's how he wants you to operate as a mom and a business owner. And there's something he's trying to work out there. And
Mhm.
so anyway, I just want to highlight that because I think everyone's feeling something like that that's listening.
Yeah, definitely. What is your favorite way to approach the journaling process?
Mm. Blank sheet and a pen. And I'm
Just sit there until it
like,
starts flowing.
God, what do you got? What do you got for me? And sometimes I was afraid because I'm like, what if someone reads this? And so what I learned, Laura, I have two safe places. One is my car, and I would just cry, scream out to the Lord, sob my eyeballs out, punch the steering wheel, say whatever I need to say because no one can ever hear me. And it felt like the safest place, like get things out verbally, or the shower. And then the journaling one, I learned it's also okay to get something out of your body and tear it up and throw it away.
Mm.
And so I gave myself permission, like, what is coming up? And no matter how it started, maybe it was like, oh, that's mean. Why am I saying that? Or like, oh, wow, like I didn't expect that to come out. That's you releasing old stuff that's trapped in there. So get it out. And I would just start, and then I would like sit for a minute with my hand on it, like, Lord, what do you want me to know about this? And I sometimes have a word that would just come out of nowhere, like I said, and the Holy Spirit as your partner is helping you get things out. Sometimes it's just words. And I'm like, that's interesting. Is there a verse that has that word in it? And you can look ChatGPT or on Google and say, hey, give me all the verses that say like surrender or whatever it might be. And magical things have happened on the pages that some of them are thrown away, never to be seen. Some of them are kept because I knew how important that breakthrough was. But it's just you're co-authoring with God at all times. And the more integrated you can get with him, the easier all of that will become. But I think blank page is best.
Mhm. Yeah, I having gotten into the 2 under 4 phase of my life, that's one of those things that I'm like, I need to bring it back and I want to, and, you're very much inspiring me to do it because
Good.
I'm like, it's time to start doing that again. I used to do it a lot when I was
Yes.
not a mom, so
Yes.
now, is there anything that you're doing practically
Mhm.
as a multi seven-figure business owner with kids and a spouse and wanting to not even put the business in the top, what, 2 or
Yeah.
3 of
Mhm.
priorities?
Mhm.
Are there any, like, boundaries or decisions or practical things that you do
Yeah.
to be able to do both? Because I think
Yeah.
so many people think they have to decide, well, which one is my priority, and then the other one just, fades away.
Yes.
And I do think most women will pick their families, not all, but a lot of women will say, my family is my priority. So that means my business can't either be successful or I have to put it on the back burner for now.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
how do you do both in a way
Yeah.
that actually doesn't, feel like you're sacrificing either
Yep.
and it feels good?
So that's a great question. I'm someone who does believe in balance, actually. And I think there are seasons where you will be unbalanced, but I do 100% believe in balance because you are in control of your own life. You are in control of the 24 hours ahead of you. You are in control of the month ahead of you. So get in control of it. And I am insanely organized. I'm insanely diligent about planning what my life is going to look like, because if I don't plan how my life is going to go and flow, my life's not going to go that way. And it's going to be chaotic, and it's going to be at the whim of everyone around me, and it's going to be frustrating and reactive. And then I'm going to take it out on my kids, or my business isn't going to make the sales. And so practically what that looks like is once a year in December, I actually go with a few other CEO friends and we do something called the CEO retreat. And we get extraordinarily clear on like, what are we trying to create in our life and business in 12 months? So if we begin there, right? What is the 12-month vision? And yes, it's business. Sure. We have all of that, but it's also life. And we go through, where's our marriage at? Where's our parenting at? Where's our health at? Where's our friendships? Where's our relationship with the Lord at? And we kind of go through all these buckets of our life to come up with these big goals. From those big goals, we pull out tangible things we can do to make that happen. That's a monthly action. And we put those monthly actions into something called a habit tracker. I just put it in a paper planner and I'm literally tracking my habits all year long to create the life that I want. Well, the third part of that puzzle is how do you then create the time to make sure that all those habits actually work? So every Sunday night, I sit down and I have a electronic calendar, obviously, right? I run a business. I have a business one and a personal one, and I have a paper planner. And so I'm kind of looking at these three things going, how am I going to create the life of my dreams this week? So what I start with is biblical order. It's like, where's all my time with God? It's time. It's not an afterthought. So I'm like, this time to this time, and I put it in the planner and the schedule every day. I find it. Where is it going? The second one is going to be, am I doing anything with my husband this week? Put it in. What's happening with the kids? All the schedule stuff, the games, pickups, drop-offs, anything special we're doing on the weekend. All of that is in my calendar. Then me, where are my workouts going? Am I going to do the sauna this week? Where's that going? Do I have a lunch with a girlfriend this week? Where's it going? Everything's in. The very last piece is, where are my time blocks going to go? Because God does not call us to put our business before everything else. He calls us to put him before everything else. And then the gifts he's given us, which is our spouse and our children, and then our business. And if it's all his anyway, he's going to work it all out. And so I'll look. And right now, in the capacity that I'm in my life, I have about 16 hours a week to work. So I plug those in, making sure I leave time for lunch or a walk, because this is the life of my dreams that I'm building. I build that out, right, Laura? And then that's what I live. And that's it. So in my company, I better only have 16 hours of tasks on my plate in my operating system to accomplish. And my team knows that. If I only have 16 hours to give you, you better get real good at prioritizing what you're going to assign Stefanie to do, because that's all I have for you. And we
Mhm.
actually have everyone in the company operating that way. Obviously people work more than 16 hours, so people that work 30 or 35 hours here. But for me, that's my dream life that I've gotten to over the course of 8 years. At the beginning, it probably looked a little different. I needed to have childcare because I couldn't just get away with 16 hours. It was me by myself building a company. So you also have to be honest about the season that you're in and creating, what can my dream life look like right now in this season. Build that, actually build it into your calendar, into the system that you run from, whether it's Asana or Miser Task or wherever. Make sure you know, how long does it take me to do a task? And what am I doing this week in my company? What am I doing in my work? If you're just flying by the seat of your pants from a to-do list, you're not getting anything actually done. You're doing a bunch of busy work that is not creating an ROI for you. So take the time to stop everything and get insanely organized so that you can live that business with intentionality. And last piece on this is I'm really disciplined. So whenever my time block is over, it's over. Bye. You can't
Mhm.
get a hold of me. Goodbye. Like, I'm not the person who's going to do two things at once, because then I'm going to suck at them and I have an ADHD brain. So I'm like, if I'm with my kids right now, I'm with my kids right now. If I'm working out, I'm working out. If I'm doing my work, I'm 100% doing my work. And that is not how I used to operate. I used to have the laptop out everywhere I went, thinking, I'll just also work so that I'm present with my kids. It was the worst way ever to try to grow a business and be really present. Like, I would have been so much better off being honest and saying, hey, if I only have 2 hours to work today, let those be the best 2 hours that I ever have to give. Or maybe I should have taken the hour I was doing Bible in the morning to work and then do Bible with my kids. So it's
Mm.
also looking and adjusting, like, where do you need the you time if you have kids in a little season, in a smaller, younger season? And then what are the things you're doing alone that you could actually do with your kids, like workout or maybe get in the word or whatever that might look like? So those are the
Mhm.
practical things I do. And Yeah, the other pieces of my life that aren't my business are non-negotiable.
Mhm. And this is Sundays you're planning for your coming 5
Upcoming
or
week. Yep.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then once a month, at the end of the month, I'm writing down all my praise reports because everything's not just tacticals, right? It's like, how did I feel? How did I show up? What were the blessings in my marriage? What were the blessings with my kids this month? And I'm documenting that every single month, Laura, as well as now I'm planning the month ahead of me, adjusting any habits that didn't work. Why didn't that habit happen for me? Because if I want the life that I said I wanted at the end of this year, I know what I have to do to get it. So if I'm not doing it, there's a reason why. And I need to be honest with myself about that or reevaluate the version of myself that I can become right now in the season that I'm in. And so that's happening monthly. And it's an incredible process for creating a life with God that is not overweighted in one area or another. But most importantly, it's going to break you down so you can have a breakthrough in who you really are and what you need to change.
yeah. I think for me, like, this particular season has the going from 1 to 2, I just feel like it's this transition where it's like,
So hard.
well, and it's I think it's one of these things where the chaos is gonna be there, like, there's no amount of planning that can help you plan for your kid having a fever, your baby
Totally.
waking up 6 times at night, like, you can't
Sure.
actually put that into your calendar, so I think being
Yeah.
really honest about what is even possible
Yep.
and then not trying to,
Yeah.
like, just
Flexibility is key.
well,
Like
and I
with
think
the
for
kids.
me, yeah, for me, it's like I end up just a lot of times flying by the seat of my pants, like, oh my gosh, we're just figuring it out because we were supposed to have childcare today and the toddler's got a fever. So now she's got to be home. And it's just like this,
Yeah.
reorganizing everything.
Sure.
And I do think for me, a lot of it could very much benefit from a little bit more like zooming out, right? As opposed to just feeling like I'm going from, hour to hour throughout the day. And I get that it's also, the time that I'm in is more like that than if you have kids in like, middle
Even if
school
you
or something.
planned it though, Laura, and 2 of the days went astray, you're still so much farther
Mhm.
than if you didn't go into the week with a plan.
Mhm.
Because then you're at the end of the week going, I didn't work out one time. I didn't
Yeah.
have any time in the word. I did not show up for my kids even the way I wanted to, because I was
Mhm.
also trying to catch up on work at the same time. And then you just feel defeated and like you're not winning at anything. So it's like if we can go in anytime we can go in with a structured plan, that's the remember the dream week of my life would be what? And then know that if we fall a little shy of that, we're still 80% better than we would have been with no plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, I'm really good at planning the business stuff.
Of
And
course. Yeah.
and this was the year I was like, you know what? I think I need to start putting workouts into the calendar and not just saying, "Can I work out today?" Because it's
Yes.
not if it's not in there, it doesn't happen.
Of
And
course.
as much as I want to, it just is like, wow, it's 7 o'clock. I guess I'm not working out today. And so the planning the life stuff first, I think is a really good piece of advice that a lot of people, myself included, don't do as well
Sure.
as we could.
Yeah.
Um,
It's an evolution.
yeah. So I did want to ask you about podcasting to just totally
Yes.
take a left turn. So
Yes.
tell me about, first of all, how did that become the thing that you
Yeah.
drilled into? And why is it what you continue to teach in 2026, where again, you're probably dealing with a lot of that skepticism around like nobody listens to podcasts anymore, or like,
Yeah.
it's not as helpful to do that as social media. Cause you mentioned not being on social media. And I know a lot of the
Mhm.
people that listen to this show would love to not use social media. So,
Mhm.
tell me
Yes.
about that journey for you
Yeah.
because, I love the idea of also social media is optional for the
Yeah,
kids.
it's so good. So what happened for me is that after that whole breakdown moment situation, I had a whole year of like finding myself and then I finally got back into business. And again, it was like, well, I don't really know how to do it any different. So was teaching people how to make sales. I knew how to make sales. I had been doing that for 8 years. So I started going in Facebook groups, Laura, and I would have a baby on my hip, hair was a hot mess, and like talk about sales. So I was this strange, like, who is she? She's a mess, but she sounds like she knows what the heck she's taught. I was like, which made me super relatable. And so these moms were like, whoa, do you coach? But it was constant DMing and sales calls, like discovery calls. And I'd get like 2 clients a month. And I'm like on Instagram for 4 to 5 hours a day, like capitalizing on my kids. Look at my lifestyle. Wee. And like the phone was always in my face with the DMs and the liking the hashtags. And like I tried to buy an Instagram coach and we tried to build the thing. And like I was so drained and my discernment alarms were screaming. It's like, this is the season for your babies and you're nowhere to be found. And like, I'm like, but I have to, right? Like the stories that we create to validate it. Anyway, I'm like, Lord, how do I do this? I can't, one, like I'm spending 1,000,000 hours to get 2 clients a month. I'm super exhausted, drained. Like this isn't feeling right for the way that I'm supposed to be showing up for my kids too, because they were home with me. And I started a blog. That wasn't really working. I tried to do YouTube, but the season was wrong for YouTube. Constant kids, you can't, it's so much work, so much money, wasn't right. And I kept praying. I kept praying in 2018. So like 2 years of searching and seeking for the way, I get a dream, prophetic, clear, start a podcast. I've only had a couple of those dreams in my life where you sit up out of bed and you're like, that was a word. And that day, I plugged in a microphone. I made the ugliest art you've ever seen, picked a random name for the show, and started talking into a microphone about Lord knows what. And that podcast in 1 year had made over 6 figures. And I was like, oh my gosh, something's like, how did I go from 2 clients a month? That's like a couple $100, like exponentially exploded. My coaching business, I was coaching at the time for people how to get clarity on what their business would be. And so I'm getting all these people, I want a clarity call. I want a clarity call. And I'm like, this is crazy. So the podcast is blowing up. Well, of course, people like, now how do I use a podcast to grow my thing you just told me to do? So I started teaching some people how to make a podcast. And all the while, my business is still growing. I keep doubling prices. So I'm like, I don't have any hours. And so I'm doubling prices over and over. It's not mattering. They're just coming. And I decided to make that podcast training into a course so that I could help people that way. I also made my coaching process into a course. That way, if they couldn't afford me, because at this time I'm $100 an hour by year 2. And they're like, whoa. And I'm like, don't worry, there's a course, $300, do that. So people now are starting to buy the passive course. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I can breathe. This is great. I think I'm going to phase out of coaching. So I start phasing out of one-on-one. All the while, the podcast is still blowing up. I'm not on social media at this time. I have like 1 or 2 people on my team. And I'm like, what is happening? We're moving at the speed of light. I'm not ready for like all this to be happening. I don't understand it. So I keep like, God, go before me, go before me, go before me. Brings me like 3 solid team members. Couldn't really afford it yet, but was like, yeah, let's do that. All of a sudden I have all this capacity and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to take a group coaching program. So I build what is now called Podcast to Profit. Then it was just like a live thing that I was testing and blew up. People are like, I want that. And so like, I just kept doing the next thing they were asking me for as I was growing this whole time. Anyway, 3 years in, the podcast hits 3 million downloads and the team is growing. We're doing amazing. I decide to retire the 2 other courses because I'm like, I only want to do one thing. And people are actually, it's hurting them to get like, I have clarity, but don't know what to do with it. So I rolled the 2 courses all into one amazing big container, hired coaches, trained coaches so that I could come out of there and everything felt right. So like by that 4th, 5th year, things were just really locked where we went, I think by that 4th, 5th year, we're like shy of $1 million in revenue. And at that point I was like, now we know that podcasting, literally podcasting, like we were doing PR. I was on other people's shows, still podcasting. We had gotten back on social, but it was all organic at the time. Wasn't doing ads at all. We were blogging, but that really wasn't doing anything. So like literally 94% of our almost 7-figure company by year 5 is 100% from organic podcasting, blowing my mind, right? And I'm just learning it's SEO, it's targeting, it's niche, it's having only one offer, it's having that simplicity, it's scaling everything back, it's getting out of the weeds, it's learning how to take your one-on-ones into a core offer so that you can have your time back. And I'm teaching everybody this. And that's really where the lid blew off. Over the next 3 years, it was just optimizing. And then we added paid ads. And then we added YouTube, because once you get one fire, that's a bonfire. you can go start a new bonfire, which we were kindling and it was hard and we were growing,
Mhm.
right? And now they're finally fledgling. But one day, hopefully, I'll have two massive bonfires growing. But if you notice, I chose YouTube, which is long form. I didn't choose social. And yes, we have ads, but it's to get them to the long form.
Mhm.
So it's all been this engine and evolution of like trusting the thing God asked me to do with everything in me. And to your question, so all that's the story, but to your question of like, what about people that are like, podcasting's dead and it's not podcasting anymore? I have thousands of people who've graduated from my program who have six figure, multi six figure, seven figures from their podcast. And it is still working. The reality is, I'm actually seeing the pendulum swing back to audio because we are so tired of the mental fatigue that comes with short form. We've noticed brain fog, no memory retention. People are actively noticing they don't feel good anymore. And I know for me, I've been detoxing off of, well, my only one is YouTube that I love to watch. So I did a fast from YouTube, Laura, and like I crushed two audiobooks in 4 days. And I'm like, I'm not going back to that. Like I'm loving the audio consumption is healing. It's something that allows you to be at peace in your day and not overstimulated and chaotic. And so everyone I've spoken to and some research we've been doing is showing like people are coming back to podcast. Yeah, we had a minute, but they're coming back with like a vengeance. Like I want audio. I want to be released from staring at something all day. I want my memory back. I want my focus. I want my attention back. And that's what podcasting does. And if you look at the numbers, it's not declining. It's growing. What is declining are people sticking with it who produce a podcast, which is even more of an open door for people who are serious about creating something that has longevity. It's sticky. There's no shelf life. Where else can you record something in your PJs and press pause when your kids scream? Nowhere. So it's like, it's the best of all worlds. It's just that it doesn't feel good. Like, oh, I got a million likes, but it converts better than any tool I use in my company still to this day. It's basically like almost free to run it. It's so easy to get into. And if you're smart about it and you know the strategy and the SEO behind it, like you can grow an exceptionally large, trusting audience who buys from you really, really, really fast just from a podcast. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I landed here and why I'm still passionate about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, Stephanie, I wish I had more time with you because I just love this idea of like the dopamine detox from the other content
Yes.
strategies. And I am very excited to just follow along and learn more about what your approach to podcasting is. As somebody who's done it for so long myself, I'm sure I could learn some strategies. Where can our audience connect with you if they want to go deeper on the strategies you teach around using your podcast to profit in your business?
Yes. Well, obviously, I have a podcast. We almost have 1,000 episodes to help you guys over the past 8 years, which is God led business. And then I actually have a gift for you guys here that are listening to Laura. I have a 5-day boot camp that teaches you how to get clarity on what your podcast would be about. Could podcasting work for you? How does it work to make money? Kind of like all the how to curiosity stuff that's coming up for you right now that usually costs, but we're going to give that to you guys for free. So if you go to stephaniegass.com/bootcamp, that's StefaniegAss.com/bootcamp, and use the code Laura, you are good to go. You're going to get the access to that for free and see if maybe podcasting might be the thing you've been looking for.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. It was really awesome to hear your story and be inspired by just what you've accomplished as a mom, as a Christian, as somebody who went through that burnout process. So
Yeah.
thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me.